Number 6, GALIA de LITEAUX, another mare who's an absolute monster. These mares are really standing out to me this morning, but she was really exciting last year and showed some good form.
She did. She won very easily at Wetherby in soft ground, and I think that's the trick, soft ground. She did pick up some black type later on in the year and ran really well at Ascot as well, but this mare is all about chasing. You can see big, strong, robust mare. She's a bit light framed at the moment just because she's growing into herself. I think she'd be even better mare last year, but you can see she's a big mare who is robust but just hasn't fully finished developing yet. I think we'll go chasing this year anyway because it's a waste of time going over hurdles again, but she could be something special over fences in the mares category.
Number 11, BEAKSTOWN, is absolute monster, isn't he? A big horse and a listed winner already.
Yeah, he won a grade 2 as a novice hurdler as well, but he's a horse that's always promised it, and actually we were delighted to go and win that nice race up at Ayr. He's still a novice to the 1st of December over fences, and I think we can take advantage of that. You can't say that he's grown and strengthened for the summer because he is a slightly older horse, so all of that's really been done, but now he is the finished article, and hopefully he can go on and compete at the top level in those handicaps and maybe a bit more, but it all feels like it's coming together for him now.
Number 20 is Message Personnel, who didn't manage to win last year.
No, and a little bit frustrating that he didn't win, of course, but he was only a juvenile, and I think he's one of those juveniles that actually wants a trip. So he did run respectably. I think the big key to this horse, though, is he's had a wind up through the summer. By Saunderson, exactly the same as Protectorat, and he improved a lot for a wind up. He's going to go hurdling for a little bit longer, but I think the massive improvement will come, and then he'll go chasing.
Well, big flashy chestnut horse, number 14, Our Jet, won a couple of hurdle races last year.
Exactly, and you can see how big and sort of well balanced he is. He's definitely a chaser. We're delighted to see him win 2 hurdles because it's nice to see that ability before you go and do your main job, which obviously for him is chasing. Ground is not an issue. He's done loads of schooling, super happy with him. He'll be out in October.
Number 7 with the cross noseband on there, Jeffrey's Cross, hurdle winner last year.
He was, and he unfortunately got disqualified. Jack Andrews won on him at Warwick and he got disqualified, but he's always been a potential chaser. He's a half brother to Not Graffan, a full brother to Not Graffan actually, but he's always been a potential chaser, done loads of schooling with him. Ground's not an issue, we've just got to do an extra couple of 3 weeks and he's ready to run, but fences will be the making of him.
Number 2 is HELTENHAM, who has ran a couple of times but is still a maiden and really big horse.
He is, and I think we won't waste any more time over hurdles. I think we'll probably go over fences. He's obviously, like you say, a big horse by Mass Marvel. There's a lot to like about him. He's grown up physically. I actually think he'll be even better again next year. But his jumping's been good, and like I say, we want to leave that hurdle form behind now, and I think fences this year he should be able to do so.
Well, Ballygrifincottage will be absolutely delighted that it's pouring with rain outside, because one thing he does is love the mud, but also he stays all day long.
Yeah, really likeable horse. You know, as a jockey when you're riding him as well, he just keeps trying. But you said it, 3 miles, soft ground, and going chasing this year. Hopefully that'll be really, you know, the making of him. Did really well last year, winning at Lingfield, placed in two graded races, and the last one at Cheltenham, the Albert Bartlett, finishing 4th and first home of the English. So we're really looking forward to him going novice chasing, and yeah, 3 miles soft ground, you know, that's what he loves.
Well, we've interrupted World Romance having her new bed laid down, but couldn't go without saying hello to her, and she's had a bit of time off, but previously she's been a winner for you and obviously placed at graded level, so she's shown lots of encouragement.
This is a really good mare. Unfortunately, she has got glass legs and she is not easy to keep right, although touch wood, we've kept right this year. We're under no pressure, we're not in a rush, but if she can get back to the track, she's very talented. She won her only start as in the mares level, and then we went to Cheltenham in a graded level, and she was placed. So she got that black type, but I do think, and you know, she's a pretty big mare.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
She'll be able to jump them fences, and hopefully, you know, she gets a clear run at it now.
Will soft ground be important for her?
Vital,
yeah,
not important. Vital.
Well, there you go. She'll be waiting for that rain. Well, it's raining now. She'll be happy.
Good girl.
Benny's Oscar is another exciting horse who's had a bit of time off, but hopefully can come back and be progressive now novice chasing. Exactly.
I was really impressed with him when he won as a novice hurdler. Then he got that little injury on his next start, had a bit of time off, but he's actually come back bigger and stronger and better. Being by Oscar, it's no issue to have a bit of time off because I think they're better as they get older. Such a sweet horse. He's very noticeable when he does anything. He has his head always to one side. We've had a look into why that might be the case. We don't actually know why. But exactly, but he's very easy to recognise going around the place. But hopefully this horse can go on and do us plenty of business because he's a horse with a bit of experience with no mileage.
Presenting Jeremy's a horse that has won for you previously, but has just come back from a year off the track.
Quite right, and it's frustrating that this horse had a year off. The owners bought him pretty late on in that season. He ran and was, I think, very impressive in the day he won at Worcester. The form, I think, is quite good as well, but as you can see, he is very much a chaser. He's a big, strong, scopy horse. We haven't got round to jumping him over fences yet at home, but when we do, we'll start to make a decision on whether we just go straight chasing or whether we give him a bit more experience over hurdles. If he was to go chasing, he'd be very short of experience, so we'd have to just bear that in mind. But by Jeremy, who's obviously a big missing, you know, he is definitely a miss in the breeding ranks because he was a great sire with limited chances, really. I think he's a nice horse, this.
Walking Clover doesn't seem quite so impressed to see her this afternoon. She's happy now you've got her a snack. But big mare who is going to be going chasing this year? Exactly.
She won last year, like you said, it was actually really slow ground the day she won. I ran her on some slightly better ground and didn't really work out, but the physical improvement in this mare is phenomenal. She doesn't look anything now like she did last year. She's done really well. She wants to go chasing. She's by Walk in the Park, and obviously everyone knows about those. Out of a really good family as well, so one day she'll be a broodmare. But I think there's a good career to be had over jumps with this mare. I really like her. She's just so much more grown up than last year.
River Legend has already been placed a few times over hurdles, but I guess might be one of those that could go for the novice chasing sort of book this year.
Definitely. I have to be honest with you, he needs to get on with it now. Okay. He's run nicely over hurdles, but we want to see some wins. They're in there, and he is nicely handicapped, but it's got to all come out when he goes over a fence. We have schooled him over fences a few times. He does jump nicely. I think he'll win. I do think he'll win over fences. Who knows? Like I've said to you before, Moolah Gold finished his hurdle season rated 114, never won over hurdles, and went on to be a 150 chaser. They don't have to win over hurdles. Whether he's going to be that type of improver, you've got to let the track tell you that. But I do think that we should have a much better chaser on our hands.
Fred was a winner over hurdles last year and goes novice chasing and certainly seems exciting.
He does, and I think he'll leave his hurdle form behind. He's actually taking a bit longer to get fit this year than usual. Well, say usual, we had him last year, but he's taking a bit longer to get fit because he had a good summer out, loads of grass. But he looks fantastic. I'm super happy with him. He stood on the vibrating plate, which a few people will have seen. This helps the horses relax. Of course, if you put the heat lamps on there, 40 degrees as well, you know, they really relax into it. It's really good for the fillies, and even those ones that tie up, we've had really good results with it. And actually, outside of sort of like the training element, if you get a horse that's a little bit colicky, so like a sub-colic, then you put them on here and they just relax, and that seems to sort them out 90% of the way.
I suppose it makes total sense. You see a lot of the top athletes use it, and so for the equine athletes, it works the same way.
We've had good results with it. I mean, there was years ago we had a mare called Renee's Girl. She basically used to live on this. It was so important to her, and it's what ultimately, I think, helped her perform.
Well, Unexpected Party is being an absolute legend, standing so patiently, and we'll explain why in a second. But firstly, what an exciting novice hurdler. I mean, very talented, clearly, and now going forward, novice chasing. Exactly.
He won, I think, very well at Ascot in a good race. He'd won before that as a novice as well, like you say, but something happened in the Coral Cup when we fancied him. I don't quite know. Harry came back in and said he wasn't happy with him at halfway. We obviously didn't run him again, and he goes novice chasing this year as a 100 and mid-140s rated hurdler, so you've got to be excited about a horse like that to go novice chasing.
And whilst we're stood here, it seems like there is a party going on. We've got all sorts of lights in this machine. I don't even know where we start. So, I mean, you're going to have to explain.
So I think a lot of owners that have been here have seen this, but for those of you who haven't, this is what we refer to as the best box, or the Equisir best box. I sometimes call it the magic box. It glows all these glorious colours, not because it's rather delightful to see, but because that means that something is happening within that box. The different colours relate to a different process that's going on, be it heat, light or radio waves. And what it's doing is it's picking up inflammation markers within the horse's body. We've had great results with it. We've had it for 2, maybe 3 years. So what it does, it heats up the chamber to 42 degrees. The horses relax a lot, and then they can get a reading. This picks up muscle strains, tendon strains, infections, all sorts of different things. Becky, who uses it and is in charge of it, she's a qualified physio. She's not here to explain the intricacies of it.
Okay.
And I am the least technical person in the world when it comes to this. I like the results and I like what it tells us, but she interprets it. And the way she interprets it is basically everything is fed back to this iPad by Wi-Fi. And as you can see at the moment, scan is in progress. And you can see now he's just picked up his readings. So it is marked out of 100%, and you can see that he's got 7 different areas there that have been analysed. Unfortunately, Becky's not here to explain what they are, but the idea is to get these percentages up as high as possible. Reading this is pretty complicated and, like I say, much beyond me, but Becky can interpret those results. You break it down even further into subcategories, and then we can find the area that might be affecting them. Every horse has some sort of back pain, every horse has some sort of lumbar pain down through its hamstrings because they're working so hard. But if you get a horse that's got a constant reading, a really high reading in a forelimb, and then all of a sudden it has a really low reading, you know there's something going on. So you can use that information to then get the physio or the vet or even some internal medicines to help. Picks up ulcers very, very well. This machine does. That's to be expected because a lot of horses have them, but this can pick them up very quickly. So we use this box not as the only thing to diagnose problems. Of course, there's lots of other ways of doing that, but it's a tool to really help us. This makes you think outside of the box. It makes you think in a different way, and we've had great results.
We have a huge amount of horses that fall into the novice chase category. One that's sort of towards the top on ratings they already have is Stepney Causeway, who actually came from the flat and has hugely progressed since joining you, firstly over hurdles, but looks like he could just get going over fences as well.
Exactly. Had a great first start over fences. I think he was second to Edwardstone. We'll have to just check that. But he ran really well at Warwick. I remember he was second at Warwick, and then his season at the end he fell when he was going to win at Southall, and we ran him one more time at Uttoxeter, and that just, at least it was a clear round.
Confidence booster.
Exactly, it didn't mean anything. Obviously we went there very positive and thinking it was going to happen, but he showed that he was feeling that fall, or at least remembering that fall. So we've got a fresh start this year. He'll be out relatively soon, and he wants to be out whilst the ground is as good as possible.
Realstone has had plenty of time off of the track, obviously comes back this year to go novice chasing, sorry.
Exactly. He was a big price winner at Aintree one day, took us all by surprise. He did it on ability. He was very raw, very babyish, but he won on ability. He's won again over hurdles at Hereford, and I feel like this horse has always been destined for a fence. Now he gets a chance to do that. It's probably going to be more November than October, but I think a very talented horse. To do what he's done, despite all that greenness and rawness, is a positive sign.
Bossman Fred is a horse that likes to keep Harry fit and makes him do the hard work rather than the horse doing most of the hard work. But that's his way of going, and he still wins despite sort of the extra efforts that have to go in.
Exactly. Long distance horse. We tried him over fences, he got a small injury. We then resumed over hurdles just because of the time of the year. He now needs definitely to go chasing. I think with a bit of luck he could make it into sort of like a Midlands national type of horse. This is a horse with an endless amount of sort of stamina reserves, but it takes a lot of getting out. Yeah. Glad I don't have to ride him anyway. Viva
La Villa is the horse that's been placed in pretty high level races. Going chasing, can that bring even more improvement out?
I think undoubtedly, yes. And he was very good in his first run last year. And then, like we say, we went down that graded route very quickly. He was second at Sandown, ran well at Warwick. And you'd look back and you say, well, he only won one race. Was that a bit disappointing? I suppose, yes, it was that he only won one race. But like you say, he kept that higher grade company as well. But he's nearly 17 hands. This is a real chaser. I'd like to think that now we can really go forward. I've always liked this horse a lot.
Calico seemed to possibly lose his way a little bit, having ran very well in the likes of the Dovecote and the Scottish Champion Hurdle. Obviously has mixed hurdles and fences a little bit. Needs to get back on the right path.
Exactly that. And it's been frustrating, I can't pretend it's not, because when you have horses that are running at that high level, you obviously almost get comfortable at that level, you get accustomed to it, and he's just not really gone on, and I don't really know why. It's just not happened for him like it does with some horses. We get a fresh start this year. We will plot his campaign when he's ready to run, which will be about 3 weeks' time, see what hurdles, what chases are around. But it's really important to get some wins on the board for him now.
Confidence.
Exactly. I don't want him to be a horse that is look back on, you go, was he an underperformer? You know, not an underperformer, but did he underwin the number of races for his talent? So we've got to make sure that doesn't happen, and I'm sure it won't. He's not the easiest in the world, I have to say. You know, he's off the flat and there are a few squeaky wheels, but the talent is there. You know, we know the talent is there, and everyone's seen the talent.
Yeah.
Just getting it all to come out at once on the right day is proving difficult, but we'll get him.
Hometown Hero is a horse that Bridget won on last year. Possibly didn't finish the season as well as he possibly started it. Will he now go chasing?
Yeah, definitely. He has to. He's a big, rangy horse. Bridget was great on him that day, by the way. Dropped him on the line nearly.
Did she get Ride of the Month for that? If she didn't, she deserved to.
It
yeah.
anyway. But great ride, and that's what he's like a little bit. Chunks of ability. You just have to ride him correctly, and everything has to go right. But yeah, he should definitely leave behind his hurdles form as a chaser.
Jetplane was a winner over hurdles last year. Another who falls into the novice chase category and hopefully can improve.
No doubt. This horse has been destined for a fence, I think. We bought him as a young horse from Ireland and ran him in a bumper, and that wasn't really suitable. Hurdles kind of got in the way a couple of times, and it's just not happened yet. But his jumping is very nice over fences. I like what I see, and I'd have to say if he didn't leave behind his hurdles form, I would be disappointed. So he's probably going to be about 3 weeks away, given the rain. But if he's not, it's when the rain comes.
Okay. K Fernando is a horse that's clearly scopy, sort of impressive on the eye when we saw him out on the gallops this morning. Looks the type that will be a proper chaser in time. Yeah,
and to be fair, the owner's been very patient with him. They bought him as a chaser, and he has, I wouldn't say he's been disappointing, but he hasn't just gone and flown and won 3 hurdles en route, and he now gets his chance to do what he's always been destined to and jump those fences. And I have to say it's now time to really get up there and, you know, start winning, you know, a couple of races at a time rather than, you know, hoping to win a race here and there. He's got it all. He's got all the talent there. He ran really well at Carlisle at the start of last year behind a very experienced horse of Donald McCain's. So we know it's there. It's just getting it all together on the day, and I think the fences will help his consistency.
JJ Riley is a horse that won a couple of times last year and has a pretty high mark, around 135-ish, I think you were saying earlier. So that suggests there's plenty of ability.
There is. He had a little niggle at the start of the season, so actually you're going to probably see him at Christmas time onwards. By fame and glory, travels very well. He's a half-brother to a horse that won the Scottish Champion Hurdle, so you'd expect him to be a strong traveller. I'm actually really encouraged by this horse, and I think that if he takes the fences, and I've no reason to think he won't, if he takes the fences, he could find a good bit more, and he could be a horse that if he misses the first half of the season, he's a fresh horse in the second half, and sometimes those can be quite dangerous. They've not over-raced, and turning up with a fresh one when all the others aren't is great. So I have to be positive about him, but we are just going to have to wait a little while before we see him.
No rush.
No rush.
Marada is a mare that is probably different to most of the horses we have, or you have in the yard. She's actually been away and had a foal, having raced previously, and has now come back into training. Yeah,
she got a leg when she was second in the EBF final for mares. She carried top weight that day and unfortunately got beat, but she ran very well. She's got some black type. She's had a colt foal by Dink, which is very exciting. And by having that year off, she's bought herself some time to get over the injury, but she's a broodmare. She can have a foal, so why not have one? She's had one, she's come back, she looks fantastic. Let's see how she gets on. It hasn't done any harm for the horse of Charlie Longstone's, who's won over the national fences, having a foal.
Snow Leopardess, no, absolutely.
So, you know, it can be done. And she was quite a hot mare. She's quite fizzy. Maybe having a foal will help her even more. I don't know, I'm speculating there, but I'm very happy with how she looks. And, you know, I'm not saying that this is what we're going to do with a mare that gets a tendon injury now, but it was appropriate for her. Let's see how we get on.
LITEAUX de Constance is another horse to go novice chasing, who was 3 from 3 last year, and a horse that hopefully will be better again now going chasing. A big horse, plenty of size, and you know, with a good record over hurdles, probably a horse that's not a hurdler. You've got to be excited.
Very much so. He's by Marteline, and sort of at the early part of my career, I struggled a bit with the Martelines. They probably got the better of me, if I'm honest with you. But you have to just be a little delicate with them. And I think that the way we've handled this horse, he had 2 runs in bumpers. We didn't over race him through hurdles, and now we've got hopefully the full Monty to go chasing. He's a beautiful horse. Travels very well in his race. Sees out soft, heavy ground with no difficulty. He's a real national hunt horse. Quite where we start, I don't yet know, but I'm definitely going to start at 2 miles. And I can see him stepping up in trip and grade. I'm not just all of a sudden going to take the wraps off after 1 run and say off you go to Newbury graded race. You know, we will build into that. I don't think we just have to see fireworks this side of Christmas. But I think with a fair win, this horse has got it all. Very, very exciting. Done nothing wrong so far in his life. You know, these are the types you dream of.
An unknown.
Unknown, but you do know a bit.
Yeah.
You know enough.
Unknown as to how much more is there.
Yes, exactly.
Exciting.
He's in the novice chase category, and I'm pretty sure we're going to start down that route. I do have to talk to Mike, who owns him, and just make sure that we're 100% happy with this. By Mike's own words, I bought him to be a chaser. I bought him to be a good hurdler and then go chasing. And I said, well, yeah, we didn't expect to win a grade with him though, did we? And the truth of the matter is a horse like this, unless you are at least as good a chaser as you are a hurdler, you should you should potentially stay hurdling, because you can run in those 100, 150 grand races. Whereas if you're not at least that level as a chaser, it's not really the right thing to do, be running around in 30 grand chases. You know, he should be at the top table. And yes, he hasn't run in a champion hurdle trial like yet. He's stuck to handicaps, but you know, if you ran a horse like this in a Kingwell, he's very likely to be at the front end of the race, not the back end. So I do feel like he can step out of handicap company. And I also said to Mike, when we won the Great Wood, I said, enjoy this, because to win 2 of these types of races in a year is borderline impossible. He got as close to possible as possible. He was second in a Scottish champion hurdle after that, and ran very well at Cheltenham as well. So he had a really good year for a handicap hurdler, and I believe that he's a 143, I think, rated hurdler, and I think, you know, I'd fancy him off that in a handicap hurdle. So I think he can be at least that good, if not better, over fences. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about it. So where we start over fences, and like I say, I think it's probable we do, in line with Mike's sort of original, I bought him to be a chaser theory, if you like. But I'm also happy with his jumping. So we've got to do a bit more of that before we absolutely fully commit and say we're going to make our debut at X on X. But he's obviously very good. We know that. His form suggests that. And there's loads of good races to be won with this horse. He's fun. He's a fun horse, this is. He's a strange horse at home. He'd never flash. You'd never pick him out at home at all. You get to the track and he finds 10 miles an hour. Yeah, he finds 10. He's perhaps a bit Midnight Legend. They're a bit like that, you know. They're a bit unassuming. You get to the track and He's a beast.
This is where it's important.
Exactly.